Hey, it's Kim. Thank you for clicking on today's video. Today I'm going to be walking through my first quarter 2025 update. I've said in previous update videos that there isn't a whole lot to update necessarily because things are still the way I set them up. And I think that's because I know what works for me. I stick with what works for me. I may make some changes within a specific system, but I'm not likely to change an entire system. So if you've been around my channel for any length of time, you've probably seen all of these in some form or fashion. Maybe they're a different cover, maybe it's a different size, but it's all pretty much the same things. With that said, I do still feel like, sometimes an update is necessary, and it helps me to talk through any of the changes that I've noticed, any of the things that I had originally planned at the start of the year that aren't working, and how I might be able to update them in the months to come. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And I thank you so much for joining me on this video. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is my main planner. I call it my main planner. I call it my daily planner. It's the Sterling Ink Common Planner in the N1 size, which is the standard traveler's notebook size. And I currently have it housed in a Vanderspec leather cover. It's called the Nomad, and it is created in the traveler's notebook shape or size in order to house those kinds of planners. So that's what I have it in at the moment. And the cover that I created does not have any strings inside of it. So I just have the planner inserted in the front and back of the actual cover, just like a notebook cover. I do have a video going over the specifics of this planner cover and the customizations that I made if you want more information. Also, I'm sure there are videos about all of the things I'll be discussing. I'll have those linked down below, and also you'll be able to find them on my channel. So again, this is my Sterling Ink Common Planner in the N1 size. And to update you as far as how things are going for the first quarter of 2025, things are going well. I'm still loving it. It's still my main planner. It still helps me keep my head together and keep my life together. So it's working in that way. It's doing exactly what I thought it would do. So my monthlies are pretty straightforward, I would say. My weeklies, I have been experimenting just a little bit. I started the year off doing like that stacked vertical layout that I tried out in a previous video where I was trying out different weekly layouts to see which ones I liked the most, which ones worked best for me. So I am still doing, well, I started off the year doing the stacked weekly layouts, and they worked well. I did struggle at the end of last year to find information that I wanted to include in the notes areas of this spread. But at the top of the year, I decided to start tracking my goals. So I've been doing that weekly in my actual main planner. Previous years, I would use a completely different system or planner inserts in a ring planner to do all of that goal tracking and updating. But I'm doing a high level weekly check-in with all of my goals, which this little graph and all of the other graphs you might see kind of cover. And that is helping me to fill in a lot more space on the weekly spreads, and I'm loving how they're all looking. So after I did the stacked vertical, I moved back to my Nulty layout. Oh, and you can see, so I did the goal tracking in a couple of different formats. I will have a video going over all of that, of how I am tracking my goals to stay on top of them. So that will be coming out in a couple of weeks. Definitely be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it if you're interested in talking through all the things that I do to track my goals or to see what strategies I'm using so I can make sure that I hit the goals that I've set for myself for 2025. So then after the stacked vertical weekly, I switched back to my Nulty layout. This was a favorite of mine for 2024. I switched back to it. And again, the only negative I found in it from 2024 was the fact that I didn't always have a lot of information or notes to keep on this right hand side. However, now that I'm doing the goal progress tracking weekly, that gives me a lot more information to fill in on the right side, which is why this has now become a favorite again. So I've been using this weekly layout consistently through February and March. And as you can see here, still tracking goals, just looks a little bit different. And I decided in March to add a few other areas of information. So not only was I only tracking like what's going on this week and then my goal tracking and a little summary about that, I started adding a section for next week's things, as well as the projects that I want to focus on for that week, writing down some tasks or just some thoughts related to those projects to kind of keep me on task for that. And I do still have that goal tracker or summary. Well, I do still have that goal tracker, progress tracker, but not an actual written summary. So that's what I've been testing out a little bit through March, and I'm kind of liking what it's doing. So I've been sticking with this. And for April, I do plan to use the exact same layout. I've already set them up, and you can actually see this in my April Plan With Me video. So I will likely use this similar sort of layout down here at the bottom, where I have a section for this week, the projects that I'm working on for the week, my goal progress, and a section for next week. And you might notice that I didn't fill in the actual rating for these because I didn't have that marker with me. But I'll go back and fill that in. It is currently the last week of March right now at the time of me filming this. So the weeklies have been working amazingly well for me, and I do really like how it's keeping me on track for my goals and for those projects that I'm focusing on for the month. My trackers are pretty much straightforward and the same as they've been for quite a while now, where I am tracking some habits that I want to stick to, like taking my vitamins, doing my daily devotional, when I work out. And then I do have some health information included in there as well. Certain supplements that I want to make sure that I am staying on top of. I do track my energy levels, and I do also track my sleep hours. However, they are not listed on this tracker at the moment. It's because I'm tracking it in my health and fitness planner, which we'll get to in a moment. And I just did not transfer that information here. I am the type of person who doesn't like to do redundant stuff. So if I'm tracking something in one place, I won't likely track it in another place. And I think this is obvious in my sleep hours. So I do still set up the tracker so that I can, have the space for the sleep tracking, but I just have not added it for the past couple of months because I've been tracking it someplace else. I'm just not a person who believes in double work. So I don't know. Will I ever include it on here again? We'll see. And then again, this is for March. I have some stuff missing from a couple of days last week, but I will go and backfill it and update my tracker. So along with my sleep hours that I'm not tracking at the bottom, the other health info is it would be my energy levels as well as my mood. And the mood is pretty basic. It's like happy, indifferent, or just okay, and sad. Those are just the three moods that I'm tracking, and I'm seeing how that correlates to my energy levels. And it does definitely correlate to my sleep hours, which is why it's helpful to have all of that on the same graph. I'm just, again, not the type of person to put the same information in two spaces. So that's why it's not here at the moment. But my trackers are continuing to work extremely well for me. I have my order tracker, which is pretty self-explanatory. I just track things that I purchase and, orders that I pull together. Now, getting into my daily pages, I will say a few things aren't going the way I thought they would so far during this first quarter of 2025. And that mainly, honestly, is my summaries for the months, which I'll show you in a minute. But my dashboards stay pretty consistent, and then I do my one line a day. And my dailies are also just a list of daily tasks and some memory keeping throughout. So getting into like the end of the month, I have a space reserved for the January monthly summary. I have a space reserved for the February monthly summary. I have not done it. I have thoughts. So for January, I didn't actually have many photos to use to plug in there. For February, I was much better about taking photos. This is where a photo should go that I just haven't printed out and put it in there. But after having lived without that January summary, I thought that I would go back and include just random bits of information, maybe some doodles, reflecting memories, maybe putting in some like ephemera I may have collected throughout the month into this spread. I do still have it. I could still do that. I'm not sure how interested I am in doing that. So I don't believe in filling in my planner pages just to fill in space. Like I feel like it has to be doing something for me. Like I have to actually like it in order to do it. So I'm still on the fence about whether or not I'm going to do a January summary. Again, I have the information to do the February summary. I don't know if I want to do it. And then that leads me to, like I said, we're in the last week of March. Will I be doing a March summary? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that means to me that I need to take a break from it because I have been doing a lot more memory keeping within my daily pages. So maybe I just don't need that kind of form of memory keeping at the end of the month. Maybe I just don't need that for me for 2025, or at least not this first part of the year. So that is something that has been a big update and a big change for me for 2025 so far. Other than that, in my daily pages, everything else is pretty much the same. I do my weekly reviews in between the daily tasks that I have, the task list and a little bit of micro journaling. So all of that has stayed pretty similar and pretty consistent in my daily planner, and I'm still loving it. So that's the update for the daily planner. My main planner, and this is probably the longest, most long-winded update of them all. The next one I have is my faith planner. I did a recent video where I kind of jazzed up this cover a little bit, just freshened it up, added a couple more stamps. This one I did not include in that video. I believe I had it in when I was updating my planner bag. This was one from Diptyque. I thought it was super cute. It's like a little star with a smiley face. So I wanted to add that on here. Oh, and I did add this Diptyque candle as well. So that's what I did on here. And this is my prayer, faith, journal / planner. And it's pretty much going strong. So the first booklet is my prayer journal where I will write down some prayers. And then the second part, I'm using the Travelers Company monthly, where I'm writing down some of the daily devotionals that I'm reading. So each month is like a specific topic. I did not do it for March, and that was purposeful because I'm doing something else for March. So I didn't need to use that monthly layout. But then what I was also doing was using the weeklies, also the Travelers Company insert, so the horizontal weeklies, to add in some of those scripture writing things and then also some Bible study notes. And I'm using that the same way as well. However, I will say that since I'm following a bit of a different study plan or a change to my study habits, for this month and maybe next month, it's not being used the same way I was using it before, but that's nothing new. There would be a couple of months where I'm in and out of doing these written scripture plans, and that's okay. Some months I do it, some months I don't. I am following this Christ in All of Scripture Bible study, which is 4 books and it covers the entire year. I'm enjoying it so far. I will do this a couple of days out of the week. So it has it broken down where you do 1 lesson per week, but I kind of might cram like all of the components of 1 lesson or 1 week's worth of lessons into 1 to 2 days. So that is another thing that I'm doing that I'm not necessarily, like I don't necessarily need to track it in here because in that book it has space for me to write down my thoughts and write down a few notes as well. So that's why the actual inserts aren't being used as much at the moment. However, like I said, I do foresee that I will be back into using all of the layouts just fine. throughout the year. And then along with this is my Bible study journal, and it remains the same, where I will put any notes of things, a whole bunch of sticky notes of things that I'm studying into this book. And then I have been updating my chapter reading tracker thingy that I do on this side, and I also do summarize for myself the things that I read based on each chapter of the books of the Bible. So all of that stays the same, working well, and I'm loving it. So then the next one that we can discuss is my business planner. For this year, something that is different, I switched to using the Wonderland 222, and setting up all of the spreads or finding a use for all of the spreads has been different, I will say. Last year, the planner that I purchased to use for business stuff didn't work so well because it had maybe too much space for me to use for the weeks. So I decided doing a week on 2 pages would be something that would be more beneficial to me, and it is. I will say, however, there are weeks where I'm not using any of the spreads. And also the spreads that I do use, or when I do use them on a weekly basis, it's just I'm not even using like the day specific things. It's just a collection of lists. Basically a collection of lists that pertain to that week. That's all that I'm putting on the weeklies. I would like to do a kind of flip through or walk through of how I'm using this. Again, it's for business, which in a lot of ways is pretty personal. However, I do use the monthly layouts, which I explained in a previous video. The monthly layouts to write down the videos that I post to YouTube. So in that sense, it's nothing personal necessarily. And I'm just writing down what actually happened. And then I do have, for instance, some plans. Like I'll put them on a little sticky note of what I might want to upload to YouTube on a specific day. So last Sunday I did the April plan with me. So that would be that. So that's how I'm using the monthlies. And then back here in the notes, I've just been writing out some video notes. So while I'm editing, I'll write down some video notes, and that's what that has been used for. So it's working better than my previous planner that I was using for business. But I will say for the first quarter of 2025, I've kind of been like anti-business. I've not been in the mindset to focus on expansion or growing or just any kind of business related, thoughts and ideas. Maybe you can relate. I've just been keeping things, status quo, doing what I know I'm supposed to do, just only doing those things, not really brainstorming new things or moving on to other stuff. So that's why it hasn't been used a whole lot. I do anticipate that in quarter 2, I'm going to be picking up the pace. So I'll be using it a lot more. This little insert, this monthly one from Sterling Ink, is just that. It's just monthly layouts. It does have some notes pages in the back. I went over this in probably a haul video or my 2025 planner lineup video. So I use this little insert for my consulting business, and it's information that I just need to capture on a daily basis. So in each of these little boxes for the month, I'm writing down information about that specific day, and then I will tally and total some things at the end of the month. I will track when invoices are sent, when invoices are paid. I do all of that. I do like a list of all of the invoices, all of that good stuff. I know I do still have that information electronically, of course, but sometimes it's just easy for me to turn to a specific page and see the list of all the things. So that's why I will write it down. That's also why I'm not sharing any specific details about, or showing you any specific details about what's in here. And then another part of my business setup is this notebook. It's a stalogy notebook, A5 stalogy, that I use, and I write down plans. I write down notes. If there's some continuing education kind of stuff that I'm doing, I will write down notes about that. If there are some planning tasks that I'm working out or working through in my brain of a next thing that I'm trying to strategize for business, this is where I will write it. And this notebook is not dated per se. It will follow me for years. So I do like to keep it though in conjunction with the dated planner because I need all of this information at the same time. So this system is working. I do foresee me using this notebook a lot more coming up in quarter 2, as well as using this actual planner for business stuff in quarter 2 as I get back into the flow of being a bit more business minded. So the next one is the Sterling Ink Daily Planner. I have it in the B6 size. I call it like my life workbook. And this is just, I've said it before, a glorified notebook. That's pretty much how I'm using it. And on days that I don't know, I'm sitting down, I'm thinking through some things, I will write down notes. So, for instance, on February 24th and 25th, I was writing down notes about frame rates and shutter speeds for my camera. I was writing down a couple of ideas that I had about Final Cut Pro. Just anything that comes into my head. It's not usually things that I need to reference later on. And if it is something that I will need to reference later on, I will move it around someplace else. So that's what I use this for. It's pretty messy. It's nothing that's super personal, but I don't know exactly what's in here. Like I have not kind of censored anything. So let's see. Oh, so this I was kind of working out things that I wanted to film for YouTube, working out what I would be doing for my work days coming up. And then I know that this is a list of things that I wanted to knit. So it's just random, very, very random stuff. In the past, I'll usually use this kind of notebook to also track my time. So not beforehand, it's after the fact. I like to see what I spent my time on, what I was doing with my, specific hours. Oh, here's a good one. I was trying to plot out how I was going to track my goals. And this is what you can see, that little circular graph thingy that I drew out in my weeklies in my main planner. And then that chart type one I did, and then the bar graph one. So it's really just kind of where I might brainstorm a few things. And then I do have where I might have, here is where I might have tracked my time. I did track my time, but I hadn't done a lot of that in Q1. I think I will coming up because I am feeling like I need it. I get to the end of the week and I'm like, I know I was busy Monday through Friday. I was busy the entire time. But I feel like I have no accounting of what I actually did because, in a lot of ways, you don't have anything tangible at the end of the week necessarily to show what you did. So I would like to get back to tracking what I've been doing with my time for most days. And that's what I intend to do in here. But for the moment, it's been working just fine as, like I said, a glorified notebook. The next one I have is my health and fitness planner. And I am going to be doing an updated video. I'm in the middle of filming sort of like a health reset type of thing where I have updated some ways that I'm using this or kind of refocused on the information I'm capturing from this planner and refocused what I want it to do for me or how I want it to help me along my health and fitness journey. So I do have that video coming up. Again, it's one of those planners that I do use all the time. I have been using consistently for the entire Q1 and even more so in March because I'm kind of updating exactly what I'm doing and how I'm using it and how it's working for me. So there will be a video coming up about that. And then I have my journal. I have not been journaling a whole lot lately. And I want that to change. And I do invite you to join me on this journaling challenge. I am doing this thing where I'm challenging myself to journal every single day for the month of April. I feel like 30 days is achievable. 30 days is something I can do. And that journaling, it could be a couple of sentences. It could be a couple of pages. It's up to me. But my journal is set up exactly the same way it has always been. And it's serving me really well. I just find that I haven't been focused on it lately. And I want to get back to focusing on it because when I do, I'm just a much better person. So that's what I would love to do in the coming months. I haven't been journaling as much as I'd like in the first quarter, but that will definitely change. There's also something I noticed about this cover. So this is the Prada Traveler's Notebook collaboration, and I feel like mine is feeling a little dry. And I don't know if that's just because I haven't been touching it very often, like, you know, leather patinas from the oils in your hand. So maybe that's why. That's, you know, a sign that I haven't been picking it up and using it as frequently as I would like to, but it's looking a little dry to me. I don't know if I should put some like leather conditioner on it or not. What do you think? Do you think I should? I don't know. Like, I like when it looks a little shiny, you know what I mean? Not so dried out. So we'll see. But that is my journal. It's working great. The setup is very simple. It's just obviously in a traveler's notebook size. And I have this notebook from Taroko Shop with 68 GSM Tomo River paper, dot grid, that I've been using as my journal for years. And I have like a stash of them because this one is almost done. I only have like a handful of pages, and I will be switching to that next one. So that's what I've been using here for my journal. So I feel like I should have a list of things because I do have a lot of planners and journals and just things that I like to use and things that I like to play in and with. So I will pull out a couple of things. So there is my knitting journal, which I am filming a recent video. I think, will it come out before or after this video? I think it might come out just after this video. So that's my knitting journal. It's just something that I have been interested in. I treat it kind of like a scrapbook, kind of like a, I don't know, just something creative, another creative outlet. And that's what I've been using this for. So that is part of my lineup, as well as my reading journal, which is a digital reading journal that I have on my iPad, which I cannot show you at the moment because my iPad is being used as my camera monitor. But I think I may do an updated video on my reading journal. I do like it. I love it. It's working. It's something that's an important part of my system. Again, it is not something I use every single day, but of course it is just a part of my planner and journaling system that I feel like helps to feed my creativity. So that's why I like it so much, and that's why it's working for me. There are a couple other things that I mentioned in my 2025 planner lineup that we don't need to discuss. So there's my 5-year journal that has not really been updated at all. I don't think I've touched it for the first quarter. So that's kind of sad. And what else? There is my travel journal. I haven't really traveled, so, you know, I think that makes sense. Oh, there also is my language learning journal with a video that I promised some time ago that I haven't put out yet. I have not been doing much or any language study for this first quarter of 2025, so that is why. Took a little break after the start of the year, and we haven't picked back up yet, and we is my daughter and myself. So I do want to get back into that. We usually go a little hard on it, especially in the summers, like when she's on break from school. So I do foresee that coming back, and I promise I will have a video/videos all about that in the future. So if that is also something you don't want to miss, please feel free to subscribe. I would love to have you hang out around here with me. I would love to have you join my community. Speaking of community, that journaling challenge is open to everyone. If you want to join, there's nothing you need to do to join. You could leave a comment in that journaling challenge video saying, yes, Kim, I'm with you. Leave a comment for me over on Instagram saying, yes, Kim, I'm with you. You could just like the post. You could just not tell me anything. Just do it on your own. But there's nothing that I need from you necessarily, just to let you know that I'm here with you on this journey to becoming a better version of ourselves. And I do feel like journaling helps with that. So I'll have that specific video linked, and that is what I feel like definitely, I don't know, adds to the community feeling or the community vibe. That social media, you know, that's a good part of social media to some extent. So anyway, If you'd like to subscribe, please do. I thank you and I would appreciate it if you did. If you enjoyed this video and all the things that I've shown, definitely feel free to like the video and share it with somebody else who might find this useful as well. I'll link anything that I mentioned in the video and any of the other detailed videos that may relate to this information. I will link that for you as well. And please feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any questions, or I don't know, you just want to talk through some things. Again, thank you so much for following along on today's video. I appreciate you being here so much, and I will see you in the next video.